Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Ehsan and I'm here to conclude our lecture series this Ramadan of 2022, brought to you by Bamul and Bani Hashim Society of Mississauga, Ontario. I'm very much honored to have this opportunity to be able to talk to you this Ramadan. Our topic of discussion for these 10, 11 nights was societal well-being, which is a roadmap to self-purification at the societal level instead of the individual level. We talked about various things. We talked about that Islam is not just a religion of individuals, obviously, but also of a community and really a global ummah. The social interactions and the responsibilities and rights that the religion mandates um, were discussed. We discussed how our responsibilities, obviously, and duties for ourselves, they begin with ourselves, but they extend to our immediate and extended families, but widens to include the neighbors and friends and the local community, right? We talked about Amar bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, which really symbolize the social aspect of the community. Um, we also saw how there is a two-way relationship between parents and children. We tried to identify the responsibilities of parents towards their children. Then we discussed within the same context, we discussed how one of the greatest personalities, Luqman, also mentioned in the Quran, how he gave the advice to his son. And we studied some of the verses of Surah Luqman, which is actually named after Luqman himself. We also talked about the advice that was given by Imam Ali to his sons, right, with a view to enabling us to find ways in which we can apply the advice in our lives. And we talked about the book compiled by Sayyid al-Razi. The book is titled as Nahj al-Balagha, the Peak of Eloquence. Obviously, it's a collection, it's a great collection of the letters and sermons of Imam Ali. And there is a significant amount of information and content available for us to draw lessons from and better our lives. We also try to study the positive and negative impact of the gadgets and tools, especially around social networking, that are available right now. We try to understand if the social ills that are prevalent in our society um, are, oh, are impacting us because of these tools. What are the benefits and dangers of using social networking? And we try to identify potential problems that arise when communicating over the internet. So we also discussed about these strategies for better use of gadgets. And then we talked about Amar bil Maruf and Nahy anil Munkar in detail as well, which included the advice of how to perform these concepts in practice. We talked about modesty and chastity in our lives as well. So this was pretty much a quick recap of what we discussed, a quick outline of what we had been examining throughout all these blessed nights. I think this is a good recap of the entire discussion as well, which was on societal well-being. As you can probably imagine now, that we have that there is a great emphasis placed on people, going or beyond their individual self and trying to do things, trying to carry out the responsibilities that will actually have an impact at the societal level, right? We talked about a fair distribution of wealth. We talked about how there are two extremes. On one side, we see wealthy individuals with the massive amount of wealth, and they don't know where to spend that on. And then on the other side, we actually see human beings who are actually struggling to fulfill even their basic human needs. And obviously, Islam discourages such a big disparity. And because of this, there is a strong emphasis on giving out charity. We talked about three ways of giving out charity or tax. One was optional, the other two are wajib. So zakah and khums are two mandatory taxes, and then the optional one was sadaqah, which is giving out charity. And obviously, we should always look for opportunities to give out charity, but Ramadan is one of those holy months where the rewards are manifold if you give out charity, and obviously you're rewarded much more compared to other months. There are other occasions, like I said, there are other nights, blessed nights, where you should be able to distribute your wealth that you have in surplus, give out your charity. And really, we talked about the ownership as well. Like even though we are working hard and you're trying to earn income here by working hard, the real ownership, for example, of everything is actually of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why if we are rich, we act as agents of Allah to distribute wealth amongst those who absolutely need it to even to get their basic human needs, right? Now, I wanted to talk about another important topic. I think we've covered pretty much all that I had to cover on societal well-being on this topic. But one thing that I really wanted to cover was Salat al-Jama, congregational prayers. There are different rules, and then there is some context around Salat al-Jamaat as well that I think would be extremely valuable for everyone to get a recap on. So I'm gonna quickly talk about this important topic in this lecture. So let me share my screen here. And as you may know, our entire topic was about creating an impact at the societal level. So we already know about Salat, which is, we pray 5 times a day at an individual level, which is awesome. But congregational prayers or Salatul Jamaat has a whole different meaning, right? Or has a special place in the teachings of Islam, right? So let me just share my screen here. Hopefully you can see it now. Congregational prayers, as we all know, when there are 2 or more people, and then we will also talk about how there are some salat in which you at least need 2 people to form a Salatul Jamaat, and then there are some salat where you actually need at least 5 people to become a Jamaat, and that is usually the Friday prayers. But let's talk about Salatul Jamaat. What is the importance of Salatul Jamaat? It is obviously lots of emphasis is there, and it is recommended that all obligatory salat is actually, if possible, done in Jama or offered in congregation. Like there is a special stress on 3 of those salat, which is Salatul Fajr, Maghrib, and Isha. So obviously Zuhr and Asr you could do it. Even that is recommended to do in congregation, but there is just like a special emphasis on the morning and evening prayers when you do that in congregation. And again, like I said, the recommendation obviously is on all obligatory, which is like all 5 obligatory salat to do in congregation if you are able to. And then because there is this recommendation, there is rewards as well. For, I mentioned 2 of those here. A short congregational salat, for example, is actually better than the prolonged salat offered alone. Tons of benefits. And the third point says, even if you have to wait to offer a Jamaat Salah, compared to praying an individual salah on time. You should actually wait. It is preferred to actually wait to do a salah in congregation. So as with those two things, you can probably imagine how important it is, how much more rewarding a congregational salah is compared to an individual salah. Now that we know the importance of Salah Jama, I wanted to talk about some of the rules. How can you join? What should be the arrangement? Some of those important aspects, because I know when people, especially in this month of Ramadan as well, join the congregational prayers, they're not always adhering to the proper rules. Sometimes you just don't know, sometimes you just need a revision. So this is a quick revision of those concepts. Arrangement, as you may be aware, for like I had said, for the daily prayers, the minimum number of people that is required is two, one imam and the other one is ma'mun. Ma'mun is just the person who follows the imam. Imam is the person who's leading the prayers, and we'll talk about conditions who can actually be an imam as well. There are certain conditions that must be met for anyone to become an imam, right? So there's that. Ma'amum obviously are the followers. For Salatul Jum'ah, which is the weekly prayers on Fridays, there must be a minimum of 5 people. So including the Imam, there should be 5 people. That means 1 Imam and 4 Ma'amun should be there at least to have a Salatul Jum'ah. Now, the whole point of congregational prayers is obviously to do things in unison, and that means that they should be close together, there should be less distance, and that's why this is one of the rules and the arrangements of Salatul Jama'ah as well. There shouldn't be a large distance, no obstruction between the imam and the followers, so the prayer lead and the followers. If the ma'mum, for example, the ma'mum is actually standing exactly behind the imam, then his forehead should fall just behind the feet of the imam. So that should be the spacing. It's very important because his connection can only be linked. So ma'mum's connection can only be linked to the imam if he is that close and the spacing is minimal. Similarly, obviously, there shouldn't be any gap or obstruction between the lines that are formed after the ma'mum. So importance, people should consider that when they are arranging themselves. Oftentimes, you'll see people not forming the lines until the Iqamat is also already said, and then they're just scrambling when the takbir has happened. They're scrambling to fill the gaps and all that. So care should be taken to actually do that before Takbiratul Ihram or the first takbir, so that people know if there are any gaps, they can actually fill it up. It's critical to maintain the connection all the way down to the last ma'mum till the imam of the Salatul Jama'at. Now, who can be the imam? Can it be anyone? Well, these are some of the qualifications. There are at least 6. Imam, as I said, is the person who leads the prayers. So you must be ba'alif, adult, right? So should have the age of responsible and puberty for men, one who has completed 15 lunar years. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, sane. So kill has to be sane. Third, obviously, believes in the mastership of 12 imams. 4 should be adil, just. So it shouldn't have, he does not commit major or minor sins. Important for the imam. 5th is legitimate birth, and the last one is able to recite correctly. Obviously, that's a key piece as well. If recitation is important, they should be able to do the talaffuz, the qira properly, because they are really leading the prayers of many individuals, and qira is one of the important components of salah anyway. Now, quickly, we'll go through some of the important rules of Salat al-Jamaat. Number one, I think number three and number four, really, really important. We'll talk about it. Oftentimes, I've seen people making mistakes in number three and number four, but I think first one is pretty self-explanatory. The niyyah is critical, obviously, as it is with the individual prayers as well, right? So niyyah should be done that I would be following the Imam of Jama'at to do this congregational prayer, Salat al-Jama. People praying in congregations should stand together, shoulder to shoulder, without leaving any gap. So we talked about how the arrangement should be, how should there be no obstruction, how the ma'mum should be as close to the imam as possible, only leaving the space so that his head can actually fall down just behind his feet. That should be the arrangement. There shouldn't be any unnecessary gap or obstruction between the imam and the ma'mum, and then also in all the lines that are behind him, behind the imam and the ma'mum. Now, number three. Now, this is the most critical. People oftentimes forget when they're doing, because they're so used to individual prayers, I guess, or they, I guess, forget the rules of the Jama Salah. They either keep on reciting or they just forget reciting or during the Salah. But well, the key thing here is that you have to recite all the zikr. So just ingrain this in your mind. You have to recite all the zikr yourself, except there's just one exception, which is what? You cannot recite the first two surahs that we usually recite in the first and second rakah. That's the only thing. So we usually, the imam will recite Surah Al-Hamd and then another surah, right? So those are the only two things that you should not recite when you are in a congregational salah. That is only for the first and second rakah, obviously. So that's the only thing. It's very important. Oftentimes you'll see people reciting after the imam. That's not correct. You have to be silent. You cannot recite any zikr. Second, fourth point, no actions. Again, this is another critical one. People often tend to overlook this. No actions should be performed before the imam. So you cannot go ahead and perform, let's say, takbir before the imam did, or you cannot go into sujood before the imam. You cannot go into ruku before the imam. So always try to make sure that you are leaving some sort of gap between you and between yourself and his actions, or the imam's actions. Let the imam go to sujood first and then you go to sujood. And how you can time it, you can leave, let's say, 2-3 second delay, 1 to 3 second delay, so that you're absolutely sure that the imam has actually now gone into sujood, and now you can go down as well. So the followers should perform them at the same time as the imam or slightly after the imam. So it's always recommended to do it after the imam, just to be exactly sure. You don't want to move ahead, because this would make your salah null and void. So, and then fifth one is also like interesting. Oftentimes people join salah late, or they arrive late or whatever. They can still join the Jama'ah, but there are specific rules depending on when you join and how you can join. We'll discuss about them as well, but I just wanted to make sure that we understand rule number 3 and rule number 4, extremely critical. You do not have to do zikr. You have to recite zikr all by yourself, except for the first two surahs in first and second rakah. And then the fourth one is that you cannot go ahead of the imam in doing the actions of the salah. You have to be either at the same time or before. It's always recommended, or after. It's always recommended to be after, just to be safe. Now, joining the salah, I've tried to put them in the Q&A format. Actually, it's from this website that's also listed down below. Al Islam really summarizes in a very nice way how you can join salah. So number 1 is, can you join the imam when he's reciting the second surah? Yes, you can. When he's qunut, yes, you can. And you can perform the qunut as well, which is just like a dua in the second rakah while you're standing. when the Imam is in ruku, now you have very little time to do the zikr yourself, right? So what you do is you say your intention, you make your intention, you say the takbiratul ihram, you get straight into the ruku, and this will be counted as your first rakah. So actually, you can still join it even till ruku. You can join it when he's reciting the second surah. You can join him when he is doing the qunut. You can join him even when he is in ruku. Now, there is a special case now when you join in the third or fourth rakah. What is that scenario? So if you join, Imam is obviously not usually reading Surah Fatiha in third or fourth. There's like a Tasbihat al-Arba that is usually recited. So that means he would recite those Tasbihat al-Arba very quickly. Now, why is that a consideration? It is because usually now you would have actually less time to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, which you at least need to do, right? In order for your first rakat to be counted. So, and you cannot, when you're joining, you cannot stay silent. You have to recite at least Surah Al-Fatiha. But let's say if you believe that you will be able to read at least Surah Al-Fatiha before the Ruku and Rajas, so you actually can join while he is standing. However, if you believe that it will take longer for you to recite that zikr, right, and that you may miss the Ruku with Imam, then do not join while the Imam is standing. In this case, joining when he goes into Ruku, okay? So if you think you do not have time left and he's going to go into ruku, just don't join then. But when he goes into the ruku, then join, because it was always advisable to join the salat in ruku if the Imam is in third or fourth rakah. So I think this is pretty much it. I know there's a lot of information, but I do think that you probably are already aware of all this information. It's always good to recap and revisit these rules and procedures just to refresh ourselves every year, every 6 months, every oftentimes, because I've seen people tend to forget. I myself tend to forget these rules, but it's always important to refresh them yourselves. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free to connect with us. I hope you were able to learn a great deal from these lecture series. This is, again, I'm very thankful to Babel and Bani Hashim Society of Mississauga for organizing this. I know there were some great talks before me as well, and these series have been going on since day one of Ramadan, and it's amazing how much knowledge has been delivered through this platform, and I hope you were also able to benefit from this and will continue to benefit from this as we exit from this blessed month of Ramadan in this year of 2022. With this, I'm gonna end and conclude the lecture. Again, thank you so much for being a great participant. I hope you will benefit and you will, inshallah, connect and participate again next time when we have this when we have series of this sort next year, inshallah. Thank you so much. With that, I'm going to end this. Thank you so much, and Allah Hafiz.